You're listening to Deliberate Living, a podcast that inspires, empowers, and encourages listeners to live life more authentically. My name is Holly Priestley, and I'm a full-time nomad who has been living in my 1997 Ford van for more than a year. I travel the United States with my dog, learning how to live with more authenticity. I explore different ways people choose to ditch the prescribed life we've all been sold and live on their terms, finding freedom and happiness however they choose. Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Deliberate Living. In this episode, I just want to give an overview about why I'm launching this podcast, why I think it's important, and what to expect moving forward. You can pretty much always expect dog sounds in the background. The Deliberate Living podcast is all about alternative lifestyles, whether that is living in a van, or working for yourself, doing freelance, or being in a polyamorous, non-traditional relationship, or anything of that nature. Anything that doesn't fit into the prescription of life that we have been sold since we were kids. That prescription, the recipe of life that I was taught, that I'm sure many of you were taught, went a little something like this. You're raised all through childhood with whatever family unit you have. You go through high school and you get a diploma, and then you run off to college and you get a degree, and you probably go into mountains of student loan debt in order to do so, and then you use that degree to go get a job so that you can pay off the mountains of student debt that you have accrued, and that job is probably working for somebody else, doing a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, salaried, benefited, cubicled position, and you get married to one other person of the opposite sex, and you buy a house, again, adding to that debt load, and then it's got a white picket fence around it, and a golden retriever in that fence, and probably 1.3 kids playing with that dog. And that really, really works for a lot of people. It totally does. And it also totally does not work for a lot of people. And those are the people that I am interested in. Those are the people that I am amongst. And since there's no recipe for any other kind of lifestyle, we're all having to kind of just make it up as we go and figure it out along the way. And that's really what I want to talk about with this podcast. I think that there needs to be more representation. There needs to be more content, more conversations about living a lifestyle that doesn't fit that recipe that we've been fed, that prescription that we've been written ever since we were infants. I want to get into the specifics of why people made the transitions they made, why they moved into a van or a boat or a backpack or any other alternative type housing. I want to know why people left their career type jobs. I want to know how people are making it work. I want to talk about the nitty-gritty details. I want to talk about the pros and cons. I want to talk about the money. I want to talk about the expectations. I want to talk about the reactions from friends and family and strangers. I want to talk about these things. I want to bring more awareness to it, and I want to make it a more accessible opportunity for those people who are stuck in that recipe, in that prescribed life that maybe isn't suiting them, whether that is in whole or in part. I think there needs to be a conversation about it. So that is what I'm here to do. Some of these podcast episodes will be just me talking about my story or things that I've noticed, different ways that I've seen people work, and riffing on things that I've learned and things that I've experienced myself and watched others go through as well. I will also be interviewing other people who live deliberately alternative lifestyles, and those interviews are going to go something like this. Pardon me, I have to refer to my notes. I want to know what leaps people took. I want to know what held them back initially from taking those leaps, or what they were afraid of when they actually did finally take them. I want to know what made them finally do it, finally get through that flinch and actually take the plunge. I want to know what happened immediately thereafter, and I want to know the longer term effects and whether those immediate experiences fed into longer term experiences in any way. I want to know the pros and cons associated with each alternative lifestyle choice. I really want to know how lifestyles are sustained now and at the beginning, whether that is working one of those full-time jobs, just maybe doing it remotely, or working freelance, or any combination of the two, or something I haven't even thought of yet. I'm going to be talking to people about the specifics on how they make it all work. I also want to talk about future plans and see where everyone sees their deliberately alternative lifestyles going. And I want each of my interview guests to be able to give pieces of advice, things that they've learned, so that you can also take those and take the pieces that work for you, fit them into your life, and, throw away the ones that maybe don't resonate with you at all. That's fine. That's kind of how life goes. I think it's important to talk about this because of the nature of the world that we're living in right now, because of all of the sustainability issues and the social responsibility issues that we're facing. I want to talk about how it affects your physical and mental health, because that is fucking critical. Loneliness kills more people than cigarettes and heart disease combined. Asterisk, I'm pretty sure, because I read that somewhere, and if I can find the link to that study, I will put it in the show notes. And even though I live in a van on the road by myself with my dog doesn't mean I'm lonely. I was more lonely when I was trying to fit my life into a recipe that didn't fit my personality. And I know that I'm not alone in that fact. And so I want there to be stories out there of people who have bucked the system and made life work for them rather than them working for life. I'm going to release this as an audio podcast, as a video podcast, and include the show notes on my website so that the stories and this information is available in whatever medium people prefer to consume it in, because I want it to be widely available to anyone who needs to hear it. I think it's that important. If you or anyone you know is living a deliberately alternative life, I want to hear from you. I want to hear about them. Maybe I'll interview them for the podcast. Who knows? I also want to know what questions you have for me or for anybody else, maybe somebody living a specifically alternative lifestyle that you are interested in. I want to know what you want to know, what you would find valuable, what you do and don't like about the series. So any and all feedback is greatly appreciated, and I hope you stay tuned. You can follow me on all of the social media under Holly C. Priestley. The longer this introduction episode goes on, the worse the lighting gets, because this is being shot in real time, and the real time is evening in Arizona, and so the sun is going down. So I apologize for that. Welcome to Deliberate Living, and I hope you guys come along for the ride. We'll talk soon. We've reached the end of this episode of Deliberate Living. You can find the show notes and everything we referenced over on my website, and be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts on YouTube, or sign up for email updates every time something new is published. I'll see you next time on Deliberate Living, and until then, keep your life on the DL too.